Good evening to you. It is Tuesday, February 4th at 9:22 p.m. In spite of my long delay, I'm still getting on this pretty early because of the early tip-off of a big old triple header on the Peacock. Speaking of Peacock, man, can you believe that battle? The head-to-head battle between Cox and Dix tonight? Man, that was wild stuff, wasn't it? Crazy stuff in Iowa. Purdue wins 90-81. Right away, I go lowbrow. That's a record amount of time to get right into the garbage, but I couldn't resist. Those guys were slapping each other around all night. Anyway, TKR and Smith played really great. I'm going to talk a little bit about my thoughts on the game. It's always tough to win on the road in the Big Ten, and tonight was no different. But Purdue finds a way, thanks to some pretty good individual efforts and some. Purdue looked like they were in a little better shape at the end. I know I was dealing with a couple injuries, or an injury and a illness, or injury and some whining, whatever the case was. Iowa fought hard. I'm going to talk about it. But first, before I do it, let me thank my pals, my friends at Home Field Apparel. Head over to homefieldapparel.com. Grab one of those sweaters I've been telling you about. I mean, it's about time. You need to do it. Enter Boiled25 at checkout. Get 15% off. Also, the Rinkside collection is available if you like hockey stuff. They also have the old Platinum packs. Lots of good stuff to choose from. Home Field Apparel. And when you're at Purdue and you've watched your Boilermakers just scratch and fight and claw and find a way to win, what do? You head out of Mackey and you head towards the fire station. When you get to the fire station, you take a quick left. You look over there. You'll see the blue and black signage of AJ's. It's like a warm hug. That sign's going to say, welcome, friend. It's been too long. And when after the sign welcomes you, then you're actually going to get a real hug inside. That's standard policy at AJ's, I believe. I believe that's true now. Say hi to Adam and Jake. Grab something delicious and grab a pint. On game day, there'll be a magnet on the bottom that says Boiled Sports, and how much better can it get than that? But it's going to get better. That's the wild. You're going to get the magnet, and then it's just going to keep getting better from there out. The food's going to be awesome. The service is going to be incredible. Burgers, beef, beer. That's AJ's. So tonight we saw kind of the tale of two halves for a couple different players, but Smith was absolutely in beast mode. I put that on my thumbnail tonight. TKR showing his poise, showing his improvement, hitting, 4 big free throws down the stretch, absorbing lots of contact. But Smith, man, played huge. Lawyer, again, started off the day, I think, with a downer of some sort before hitting 3 threes in the second half. But mercy, another slow start from him. And at the end of the game, oddly enough, he was on the bench. Really weird place for him to be at the end of the game. I was wondering if he wasn't a little under the weather, but I don't know. He did shoot well in the second half, and his shots were absolutely huge, if we're going to be real honest. CJ Cox struggled a bit from deep, but Cox and Dix, like I said, that was just a amazing battle to watch. Not my type of thing, watching those two go at it, but anyway, Dix is pretty good. Sanford, to me, Iowa always looks the same, and maybe it's because I'm not going to say that joke. Iowa has a look. Let's just say that. And but boy, they play with a lot of pace. Dudes can shoot, they can bomb. And Purdue, that single digit next to their name, really makes the target very real. Teams are bringing their best game. And I'll give you a case in point today. IU, who absolutely played one of their best games of the season, if not their best game of the season. You could debate that. They're getting their clock cleaned in Wisconsin. It started off 26-6. Right now it's 33-20 in Madison. Madison, tough place to play, but this is not a good showing for IU thus far. Purdue's gonna have to deal with this the rest of the season. This is a new thing for some of these young guys, having a team ratchet up the intensity, having the refs ratchet up the intensity, allowing things just to be no calls that are just absolutely absurd. But that's life on the road in the Big Ten. It's life on the road in college basketball. Nothing new, but still nonetheless frustrating to watch. Braden Smith played huge. Purdue shot the three pretty well. I'm going to look at the stats here to back up what I'm saying in a second. But I was just extremely impressed with the toughness of both TKR and Smith. On top of that, you just had guys making plays. When you needed a big rebound, Purdue found a way. First had a huge rebound down the stretch. I mean, when I say huge rebound, it's kind of a weird thing to say, but it was a great rebound and a quick putback. He didn't have a huge game, but he played well enough. CJ Cox missed a lot of shots, but was playing. He's playing much more comfortable. I think it's hard to for a guy who's a shoot first type of guy to get used to the big arenas. Let's remember that's still a true freshman out there, and so both he and Harris played important minutes. Just some really so this is tough stuff. This is tough basketball that Purdue fans have gotten used to and gotten spoiled by. It's difficult. It's difficult to win on the road in the Big Ten. Let me look at these stats, and we can talk a little bit more. Like I said, Purdue won 90-81 tonight in Iowa, and Purdue improves to 18-5 on the season and 10-2 in conference. Next up, they got USC coming to Mackey before the toughest four-game stretch of the season. If you want to look ahead a little bit, you're welcome to, but I think that four-game stretch defines Purdue's success in the conference race this year. I think that's it. You've got 3 out of 4 road games, one of them being Michigan State, one of them being Michigan, another one being IU. That's a tough stretch there. We'll see how Michigan State looks, see how they handle playing a little bit tougher schedule. They're starting to ease into some real basketball finally. But that's going to be the stretch that defines Purdue's season. USC, though, we saw the other night, USC can be tough. They obviously beat Michigan State, so Purdue's got to get ready. And I don't think Purdue's going to celebrate this one too long. But if they wanted to celebrate, they'd rally around Trey Kaufman-Renn, 25 big points, 10 of 18 from the field, 7 boards. Purdue out-rebounding Iowa. That's not much of a surprise the way Iowa plays. I don't think anybody was surprised at that. But Caleb First, again, I said he had some big rebounds, but he had 9 boards. That's a massive story right there. Cam Heide off the bench had 5 boards. And if you're not going to hit your shot, which he struggled again, he's at least shooting 3. I think that's a good sign. Shooter's got to shoot, got to get him back in the groove. He shot the 3 poorly, 1 for 4 from deep. Colvin only shot 1, 0 for 1. But Heide played significant minutes too. And these are all good signs to me. Gotta keep shooting. He's got to get back into where he's comfortable and confident, no doubt about it. Like I said, Braden Smith led all scorers for both teams. A lot of points scored by a lot of guys, but Smith 31 points on 11 of 15 shooting, 5-7 from deep, and he was shooting some very deep threes tonight. He missed 1 heat check 3. Lawyer missed 1 very deep heat check 3, and I think Smith's other missed 3 was one that was a short shot clock on an out-of-bounds play where he shot about a 27, 28-footer. I don't think that's an exaggeration. And Caleb First, 10 points. He did it the hard way from the free throw line. Could have even had more points. 6 for 10, pretty solid, but he was getting beaten on pretty good. After him, like I said, Lawyer had 9, said that earlier. Cox had 9. Cox did not shoot the 3 well. 2 for 6. It felt like it was much worse than that. I don't know about you, just because I think 3 of his 4 missed threes were wide open looks, just absolutely wide open. Purdue's back to the problem they had with bench scoring, only 6 points off the bench, but they shot the free throw well. That's a really, really good sign. 18 to 23 from the free throw line, and did not turn over the ball much, just 11 times. Like I said, they beat Iowa on the glass. That's a huge deal. That's a very, very big deal. I'm still a little confused about this. Why Lawyer wasn't playing at the end, other than I know he had a really bad stanza where he had like a turnover and a foul. And a missed shot, I think, and they got pulled right away. But I don't think he came back in after that. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I missed it. You guys can tell me in the comments. I'm not going to dwell too long on this one. I think it's a good thing for Purdue to look ahead, and I'm going to look ahead too. A lot of you guys are here. Thank you for being here, and I'm going to interact a bit with you. Thanks for making this part of your post-game routine, even when I'm a little late. Really appreciate everybody being here. Adam P. says, good evening. Chris Harder. My buddy Chris is here. Ted Berkey's here. Pat Gotchel says, boiler up, fellow boiler uppers. I've never been called that, but I'll take that as a compliment. Sam Lovejoy says, Lawyer looked like his freshman self turning into a pumpkin out of nowhere. Yeah. That's 2 bad first halves in a row, 2 solid second halves, IU and Iowa. I would not be a guy that would bet against Fletch Lawyer to be down very long. So we'll see what happens. I don't know the story if he's got dead legs or if he's a little ill. I don't think any of that's the truth, but he's just not shooting very well. And he was getting knocked around like a pinball a little bit. There were some of those you'd think maybe he'd get the call. He's not getting the call. Some of them reminded me of the problem he had last year where he'd go into traffic, go into where power forwards were and just kind of think he was going to get over the top of them. Not that beautiful old man game we've been seeing so much of for these last two games. So hopefully he gets back into rhythm on that. Andy in Colorado says, boiler up, everybody. Same to you, Andy. Gerald Huff Jerry says Braden was a GOAT. He was very close to his career high of 34 points that he had in December versus Toledo. So good game by Braden. He was kind of flirting with that number. It looked like he might get there, especially with about 4 or 5 minutes left because he got in a rhythm. And he was in that mood where if the Iowa fans are going to bark at him on the baseline, he'll oblige in talking back. And tonight they kept talking even after the win. If you watch the telecast, you saw Braden Smith. He continued to respond to them. I've never understood anybody. I don't care who it is, whether it's an IU fan after a Purdue loss or an Iowa fan after Braden Smith depantses your team, to continue to talk trash. Game's over, bro. Number one, you probably can't run up and down the court once. I'm just guessing. Or sis, bro, or sis. But then your team just lost. And he was the reason you lost. They couldn't do anything to stop him. And people keep jacking their jaws. Ron Gable, my buddy, says, hammer down. Sam Lovejoy says, great TKR and Smith game. Absolutely. Andy in Colorado. Gutty performance by Iowa. Yeah, there are a lot of people giving Iowa credit. They're at home. I know they were down their leading scorer. I kind of think Iowa's style of play, though, if you're down your leading scorer, it just opens up for more opportunity for the other guys. They play with such high pace and they shoot so many threes. And they played harder than they usually do defensively. It seems like this, if you look at them from a sheer statistic standpoint, they throw up a ton of threes and they hit a lot of threes, but their defensive efficiency is generally not good. I really look at that number for them this year, but generally they bring it versus Purdue. One thing that, when we were seeing at the end of the game, when they were tired, they were having to press. I think they tried to press more than even usual, especially in the second half. That wears you out. And I think Paint kind of, especially now with the way he's got so many ball handlers, I don't think he has a problem with teams throwing it at him. So IC says, anyone else catch Braden Smith talking trash to a fan at the end? Yep, I'm with you. Someone pissed him off. They kept talking. I definitely saw it, and I think it was real. And he's not in the wrong. I mean, it's tough. It's almost like people have said it's hard to, as a football fan, to be Mr. Nice Guy after you've been beaten on and flip that switch. It's a similar thing, I think, with Smith. When he's in combat mode and that guy keeps running his mouth, whatever, Boiler Bugle says, hope Cox lasts 4 years. I hope he lasts a long time. I'm with you. Cox is, he's fun to watch. And I'm going to have to do something about, I just call him CJ. Boiler Fool says nearly double for first. Awesome. Let's see. So he had, what did we say? 10 points and 9 boards. Yeah, that's as flirty as you can be without getting there. Good point. I didn't even mention that. Thank you. Timothy Eaton says, we just need UCLA to do their job tonight. Boilers being first. There's time. There's a lot of time left in the conference race, and it'd be nice if that happened. This is a little East or a West Coast swing, clearly, for Michigan State, because they were at USC last game. So, is that right? Is that USC and UCLA? Must be. IC says, got to give coaching staff a ton of credit for these second half adjustments. Good point. Purdue has been making their living in the second half of several games. Yeah. Paint, a couple years ago, I think it was easy to be frustrated with Paint, especially before you go to Final Four, especially as successful as a coach he's been. It was easy to focus on the negatives. But the way he coaches now, and there's a calm that he has when he needs to be calm, and there's an absolute hellfire when he needs it too. And I think he uses them both effectively. He used to maybe not know when to push the buttons, but his ability to coach psychologically, I think, has gotten better. On top of that, I think he does make a ton of adjustments, and his coaching staff, they're really good at drawing stuff up now. I mean, both Sash and PJ have been great. And let me give it one more credit that I say it all the time, but I'm going to say it again. Brandon Brantley, what he's done to help transform TKR. I know a lot of that work is obviously TKR's, but you have to have a good pupil. You have to have a good teacher. The change in TKR's game since the beginning of this season, not the beginning of last season, not the end of last season, the beginning of this season, is really noteworthy. He's playing through so much contact. He's playing against bigger guys. He's hitting free throws down the stretch. He's doing everything anybody would ask him to do. And I hope we as Purdue fans appreciate it. We should. I'm going to keep hitting that point until I hear more of it on Twitter. Need to be inversed. How are you, buddy? Says, I was hoping to get to see at least FranCon 3, but it was pretty subdued. Yeah, I agree. I don't think he showed much at all. Very unusual for him. Michael JB says, these Hawkeyes can shoot the lights out, even with D all over them. Yeah, they're a really good shooting team. And I don't know if that was supposed to be a joke to make me laugh, but I'm a child. Yeah, the way you phrased it. Yeah, good point. Nita Beamer says Dick has a nice stroke. That's true. Very good point. Brian T says, love to see TKR hitting those clutch free throws. I can't stay. Okay. Jack-o'-lantern J Money says, Iowa's all-time winningest basketball coach has lost 5 of 6 and also has never made the second week in the NCAA tournament. I didn't know that, Jay. That's wild you brought that up. I'm not sure he knows you're allowed to recruit and coach defense. I don't think he knows that it's legal. I'm pretty sure he thinks that they get 3 or 4 really hard defensive games a year, and he uses them against Purdue. He tries to every year. So, but really good point. I had not heard that. Thank you, Jay. Greg Mitchell says, worst calls imaginable at the end of the game. Several no-contact fouls late against Purdue. Yeah, that one, boy, they had a series of C.J. Cox got absolutely knocked out. I can't remember if he was away from ball. And then on the other end, they called a foul on Lawyer that I don't think there was any contact at all. I agree. Really tough to watch. Yeah, the TKR got called for 3 seconds after being grabbed, and it was the second. I can complain about officials every game. I can. You've heard me do it, but it's just what it is. It's just crap. The product is garbage. College officiating is not good. Michael JB says 54 points in the second half. It's an absolute thrashing. It's another sign how well Purdue can play at different paces. They can play slowly if they need to. They can play fast if they need to. They can score in buckets. It's a good team. It's a dynamic team. Who's Johnny says we should be able to handle SC. I'm not going to say any of that. I don't think. I mean, it's good. It's at Mackey, but yeah, SC's scary right now. They're playing well. They've got good athletes. So, yeah, nothing's a gimme. We all know that. I'm not going to talk that way. Pat Gottschall says, you mentioned the single digit next to the name. Purdue has been top 10 in 59. Okay. Stat of the day. Okay, Pat Gottschall, here we go. Purdue has been top 10 in 59 of the last 76 AP polls. Very good. Very good factoid. It's not really a stat. That's awesome, though. Top 25 in 74 of the last 76 polls. Only dropped out because voters lost faith when Ivy went pro. Yeah, that was silly of them, wasn't it? I think we all lost a little faith, right? Because you're like, okay, very new look Purdue team here. It wasn't just Ivy, right? You lose Ivy and Trey. That's a big loss. And somehow, some way, Purdue does what they do. Keep coming up with funky. Okay. Nate Dolan says, no FranCon alert tonight. Agreed. He was very cool and calm for him. Jay Westfall, lots of emojis. And I think I'm going to translate. It looks like it's a love train party. That's what I'm going to say. A great love train party. Boiler Fool says Lawyer was switched offense for defense. Okay, there you go. That makes more sense. Did he stay out longer? You guys can tell me. I thought he stayed out longer than just one possession, but it wasn't his best game. Frail Hammer says, asking for a fellow listener, how far has Fran made it in the tourney? That's a good question though. Good question. It was answered earlier by another very on point listener and question asker. Coldy says, Lawyer had an off game, says tough second half for the Boilers. Braden and TKR balled out. Absolutely. Matt Keller says, finally found the threes tonight. Great job. Yeah, Purdue, this is kind of their way, isn't it? It's not, consistency isn't really their thing from deep this year. Haven't put a string together of really good game shooting, so hopefully they can do it soon. Josh Bowen says, checking in from Kentucky, went to my first Purdue versus IU game on Friday, picked up my BS sticker from AJ's before the game. Love the show. That's awesome, Josh. Glad you, that sounds like a really, really fun weekend. So glad you got to enjoy it. You got to see Mackie in all of her glory there. I mean, paint crew was incredible. And then to go to AJ's to cap that whole thing off, I don't know if it was before or after, but that's a heck of a visit. To see a dub over IU and see Mike Woodson perplexed in person and his booster seat. All those things were fun. That's very fun. Let's see. Karen Grulock says, got a tough schedule coming. Yeah, those 4 games after the USC game are really tough. Karen, I told you it was going to be fine. I told you it was going to be fine. So Karen and I had a little DM back and forth. She was nervous, and I was not. But I'm telling you, I handle the games differently this year. I love it. Not because I have absolute peace that they're going to win every game, but instead, I just this season is a little more of a journey for me. Enjoying the journey. I'm in a good place because of what happened last April, and I think I'm going to stay there for a while. Who's Johnny says, Braden keeps this up. He's up for player of the year. Yeah, not just Big Ten, but national, no doubt. Bardo said it a few times that Braden is the best guard in all of basketball. He thinks Braden will be in the NBA. I think he's going to be in the NBA. I made my comparisons on Twitter multiple times. TJ McConnell, TJ Ford, both really, really good comparisons. Size-wise, statistic-wise, Smith is now starting to blow those two out of the water in college. But he's got similar size, similar athleticism. He might be a half step quicker than McConnell, and he can jump higher than McConnell too. And Ford was never blazingly quick, but maybe right there with Smith. Smith's athleticism is slept on by a lot of people. And the other thing that's slept on by a lot of people is his wingspan. His arms are super long, and that's part of his story. He can go up and get rebounds they probably shouldn't, and he can play a little bit above the rim if he needs to. Dang 22-34-34 says, "Are you getting smoked at whiskey? Fun to see." Mo P says, "Smith, Cox, Harris lineup is going to be great down the stretch and next year. I think paint just like Cox and Harris on defense tonight." Yeah, fun to see them playing those minutes and fun to see them growing up. It's been kind of a linear growing up. You know, it's logical. It makes sense except for Cox outburst versus Alabama. But yeah, I think they're going to be absolute nails, and it's fun to see. A lot of Purdue fans gave Harris a hard time back in December. A lot of Purdue fans that I know. And I told them, just chill. And I'm a genius. Shane Eagle says, Colvin is going through it from all stats in the last several games. Hasn't scored well since Nebraska. He had a little stretch like this last year, but he wasn't playing much. I'm just hoping he can have one of these games where he gets, 10, 12 points in a bunch real soon. Be nice to see at USC. I'd rather not wait on that. Yo says, glad we played Wisconsin once, and it's at Mackey. Agreed. Totally agree. Tough place. Kohl Center is tough, but Paint is really good at Kohl Center. He's as good as anybody, any coach at Kohl Center. Let's see. Ancient Atomic Immortality says, CJ Cox looks like Kyler Murray, or is it me? I think the width of face and the girth of the neck make that not the best comparison, because Murray's just, man, there's a lot of dude, like, who's been through a trash compactor. He's built like me, but muscular. Brock Stepler says Braden Smith is that guy. He's that dude. Absolutely. Judith Johnson says love a coaching shout out. Love a coaching shout out. What did I get? I don't know. You can tell me if I did that early enough. I love a coaching shout out. I don't know what that means. Sorry. And this happens about once a show where I just look like a moron. I like to do it. I like to celebrate a victory by looking stupid. So let's see. I'm going to scroll down a little bit here. Jeffy, I've not heard a comment by Jeffy yet, said, first is so important to this team. What's up with the regressed free throw shooting? It's a very good question. It was theorized on Twitter by my pal Ray. He said he thinks it's because he studies too hard. When you're studying really hard, all the mental faculties are going to shooting free throws. And so that's good theory. I don't think that's accurate, but it's a good theory, and Ray's all over it. MHC says, how about that Dix versus Cox matchup? And I think it deserves another mention. I agree. The Dix versus Cox matchup was huge, but CJ just really rose to the occasion at the end. Ted Berkey says USC losing to Northwestern now. Not sure how I feel about that. Yeah, I used to get more worried about that, the order of losses and wins. This season, I'm not. I'm telling you, I'm kind of chill, so it's good. Jay Tent says, couldn't watch the game tonight, so I came here for my go-to post-game wrap-up. I hope I painted a picture with words and Cox versus Dix matchup talk. I hope that helped a lot. Nancy Williams says, First has said recently in an interview, this is going to be good, that he was only taking one class this semester and maybe spending 15 minutes a week studying. Oh my gosh, that blows that all up. It blows Ray's theory up, Nancy, but thank you. I know he's studious guy and he's got bigger ideas ahead. You know, it's med school and maybe playing wherever he wants to play pro basketball, but he's a smart guy and a man of strong faith, and hard for me not to respect a guy like that. Also, he and his wife's kids, he's engaged. You should start recruiting them now, Maddie. I know it's going to be at least 18, 19 years away. And Painter will probably have hung it up by then, but maybe not. Who knows? But I can tell you the first kids, they're going to be athletes. They're going to be absolute machines. Let's see. Whiskey 42, IU 28. Yeah, it's a thrashing there. Yeah, you're okay, Nancy. I got you. I got your drift. Yeah, Ballo not balling. Ballo was balling versus Purdue. It's tough, though. The guy is not in the best shape. I keep saying that. That is not a Zach Edey build. He may be, a similar weight. He's a couple inches shorter. He's 7 foot even. And he, to do what he did versus Purdue, it takes a lot of energy for a big guy like that. So, yeah. So that's about it. Great feedback. Thanks for bringing stuff up. I always like to hear what you guys have to say. I skipped through a couple just to kind of keep the time down. Let's see. Ron Gable, my buddy, says Northwestern 31, USC 26, and with just under 2 minutes left in the half. And IU does look like a co-rec team right now. They look rough. They look rough. So that's about it. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. Thanks to Purdue for coming through on a road victory. It's fun to see. And next up, USC. It should be a fun one. Like I said, I'm not stressed. I hope you're not as well. And have a great evening. God bless you. Hammer down. Good win on the road. Every win is tough on the road. Of course, Peacock showing Iowa highlights right away when I speak. Great. Braden Smith and TKR highlights all the time. That's it. I don't want to see anything else from you, Peacock. Hammer down. We'll see you later.